Hello and welcome to today's English lesson. My name is Stuart. In today's lesson, we're looking at the prepositions in, into, on, onto, and how we use each of those. Let's go to the intro. Now, as I said, today's lesson is looking at in, into, on, and onto, prepositions, of course, and the way we use them in English. Now, it is confusing for some learners to understand the difference between the two. It's confusing sometimes for me as well, but I can understand that for people learning English, to know when to use both of these can be a little bit difficult. So, let's see if I can explain it to you now. So, the first one, we'll look at in and on, okay? So when we're talking about position, okay? When we're talking about position or where things are. So, the car is in the garage. The car is in the garage, or the ball is on the roof. So it's the position. The car is in the garage, and the ball is positioned on the roof, where they are. Now, into and onto for destination, okay? Where the things are going to, where they're going to. Now, look at the examples for the explanation. It's clearer here. So, I drove the car into the garage. I drove the car into the garage. I kicked the ball onto the roof. So I kicked the ball onto the roof, where the ball went and where the car went, okay? So the car went into the garage and the ball went onto the roof, okay? So that's the main difference between the two. Now, things get complicated when we have fall, jump, push, put, or throw, these verbs, and then the prepositions here following them. Now, we can use both to mean the same thing. There's a slight change, and I'll try to explain what it is, but let's have a look. So, Joe fell into or in the pool, okay? No difference. She threw the books in or into the bin, and he jumped on or onto the horse. Now, we can use both prepositions here more or less interchangeably. There is a rule that I saw which says that if we're thinking about the movement, we use into or onto, and if we're thinking about the final destination, we use in or on. It's a little bit complicated, but just remember that when we have this type of verb that shows a movement, like to fall, to jump, to push, to put, to throw, and some other ones as well, movement, we can use both of these prepositions, into or in, on or onto, more or less interchangeably. Okay, so Joe fell into the pool. He fell into the pool, or he fell in the pool. She threw the books in the bin. She threw them in the bin, or she threw them into the bin. And he jumped on the horse, or he jumped onto the horse. The movement or the final destination. All right, that's the main rule there. But like I said, interchangeably, no problem. And confusion sometimes with these two when we're talking or when we're using them as adverbs. So, for example, put your shoes on, or put your coat on, or come in when we're telling somebody to enter a room. So somebody knocks on the door, come in. You wouldn't say come into, even though that person is coming into the room. Here, because it's an adverb, we only use in or on. So, come in, not come into, and put your shoes on your feet, or put your shoes on, please. Now, thank you very much for watching the lesson. Remember that if you have a question or a comment, please leave it below in the section. Remember to share the video on social media, Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Pinterest. Share it up on social media. I'll see you in the next lesson. Don't forget to subscribe and have a good day.